Hey guys, JannLee here. We're going to do another combo cage series. My opponent today is opperwezen. We're going to play 3-minute time limits. Opperwezen's an IM who's been playing the game the last 5 or 6 months. He's been playing very well. We've been playing some 1-minute matches, but I thought it's time we do a bit of a combo cage 3-minute series. So hope you enjoy this recording, and good luck to my opponent, opperwezen. Okay, so he started with e4. I'm going to go with the perk setup. I've been playing a lot more of this recently. I've been on holidays. So I'm actually currently in Indonesia. I've been practicing a fair bit with this, so it's now a solid part of my repertoire. I do like it because it's actually a fairly similar setup most games for black, but there's a lot of options for white. So we come across many new lines and opportunities. Here White's made an early sack on f7, an early play of pawn at h6. Because it's not yet easy to defend, I've backed off with knight g8 to try to capture it early. So I'll be passive and a little bit backward on development to begin with, but my hope is that there'll be a residual material advantage at the end of this. So if you look at material, I'm up a cold piece. White may have some initiative, but the idea is to hopefully have that initiative fizzle out and then have the chance to attack later on in the game. Okay, so here there's d5. I'm going to back the king in the corner. e6 is coming. And so knight at f7 is an obvious threat. So yeah, in some ways you can let knight at f7 happen. What I'm going to do is put a bishop on f5. I mean, the key to black, being able to use this material advantage is actually being able to move some pieces. So this structure of d5 e5 is really blocking in black at the moment. So I want to open that up. So I want to be able to capture e6. Now, meanwhile, white will be wanting to play as actively as possible to get some initiative back in return for the piece that's sacrificed. If black is allowed to liquidate all of the pieces on his side of the board, then there'll be a material advantage at the end of it, and then black will stand better. So already I've undermined the key pawn here. This rook is now hanging. He'll have to do something with that. And here you can play a move like pawn at e5, but then there'll be knight e5, and then a number of continuations. I think I'll just block on either f6 or g7 here. Yeah, I'll block with f6. If he wants to capture here, then I'll have this open file at the end as well. So I've got a discovery, but I can't really unleash anything with it just yet. So let's. There's no immediate threats on the back. I'm well covered. So this is a move to attack the rook and also threat an f2 to start counter-attacking. If he does capture the pawn here, then the rook would sit on a light square and I can make a discovered check to pick it up. Or I can play the check here. So yeah, I'm just going to be sensible here and capture the rook. And he's given in there because the material advantage is too considerable. So that was an example of how to capture material and defend in a passive position, and then slowly release your pieces. Okay, this opening's not seen as often, but it's certainly playable. So white's just, well, both white and black are developing pieces quite naturally. It's a fairly open game. So here's c3 is under attack. I'm going to throw in knight at h5 first, just to hit black while this is still a weakness. The key point is that putting the knight here prevents h5 coming in later, which is one way for black to proceed. Now queen e1. And so making the rook move to g8 also prevents the black king from castling. It's no biggie at the moment, but later on things may open up on the file. And now also this, sometimes this is a play, knight c3, capture and pawn at e4, but bishop h7 is now a possibility. So what I'm thinking here is I've got this file to use. He's letting this knight hang at the moment. The question is if it's worthwhile capturing just yet. It's always good to open up this rook. Now it's a matter of, he can't castle either way now, so the king's well in the center. I think this is fine to capture. The key bits are after capture. There's either bishop at d5 or bishop at g6, but I think the queen can cover either knight. Bishop at g6. Let's calculate this. So takes, bishop at g6, queen g4, and then e5 is a little bit annoying. So bishop e4 is still not absolutely attractive. And now I'm probably spending way too much time on this move. But yeah, what I'm going to do first is play pawn at e5. And the key idea behind this is it prevents e5. So this way, after capture, bishop at g6, queen g4, there's no e5 move. So that's the critical idea behind that. If f5 here, I'd consider getting quite aggressive with queen takes g6. There's a positional sacrifice here. And then I'll really try to hammer the light squares. So here I feel like white's up a pawn, has a space advantage. Probably not justified sacrificing this knight on e4 after pawn at e5 is played. Without pawn at e5 though, with the bishop here and this becoming an open line, I think that's quite playable for black. So yeah, there's a little bit of meaning in pawn at e5. And so, yeah, with black not having too much activity, it's actually quite hard to find a plan. For white, it's fairly simple. Knight takes g7 and pawn at f6 is fairly reasonable. So he's even just backed off because he decided it's not as good to engage. So you can play knight g7. You can play pawn at h6. Both seem okay. So pawn at h6, capture, capture. Yeah, we'll just go this way. And then f6 is now ripe for the knight to come in on. So yeah, there was a bit of a positional critical move with e5 there. Alright, I'm going to stick with this perk setup. I'll play plenty of e4, e5 in my time, so don't mind investing some time. Something new. Okay, I like e5 here. There's a neat trick. Now, this does look a little bit dangerous because you'd think, well, if white captures and then plays pawn at h6 and there's a queen trade coming off soon and there's an attack on the king side, there's actually a tactic with capture, capture. If pawn at h6 immediately, you can capture the queen, bishop takes, bishop takes, bishop takes, queen at h4. White has to block, and then queen takes h6, and black's actually a pawn up and safe. That's a bit of an opening thing there. Here now, yeah, after knight e2, I think knight c6 is still logical. The same trick is still available. I'll consume nearly a minute just talking about that opening trick. So here what's important for black is to acknowledge there is a weakness on h6, and this king h8, knight g8 maneuver looks really passive, but it's really to put a pawn here before any large trades start coming off. So, you know, I want to get in with pawn at h3 if I can. But before trading off pawns, I want to make sure that white's not getting in on my squares first. So I'm happy to put that here. Now I don't have any pawns on hand, so I can take on d5 or e4 if I really want to. I think I will do that and continue with pawn at g2, just because at the end of it I'll have bishop at h3. Could capture the rook. I don't really think it's a lot for black here, so this sacrifice may actually not be the best, but let's continue. Okay, and now the shoe's on the other foot this game, so I've kind of given up a bit of material, and if white's allowed to consolidate, he'll have a better position. So I'm seeing there's a weakness on f3. If rook at h1, it just gets captured. So I'm prepared to actually give up some more material here to generate some initiative. Being blocked out and avoided entirely though. So yeah, not easy to penetrate this position. So rook c8 prepares rook at c2. And I've now got 43 seconds left, so I need to start moving. Yeah, that's just a hung pawn there. So white is definitely better here already, and he's shown me that my sacrifice has not paid off on the king side here. Okay, I'm just looking to trade off some pieces wherever I can. I need to reduce the amount that's hanging around his king. So meanwhile my king's still quite safe, so he has to play the material game for a bit. And I'm looking for some inaccuracies like this that might help me get back in the game. So 21 seconds to go. Bishop d3 is on. Maybe that should have been played first, in fact. Bishop d3. So prepared to sack a little here. Alright, I'm going to sack the queen now. Because the rook is going to be valuable if I can trade it off. So white still has no attack, and I've got rook at d1, rook at b1. It's very dangerous for white. So yeah, now there's mate. Yeah, I think there was only a slight inaccuracy there where white allowed black to get back in the game with knight at c2 with a fork, and I was quite persistent with it, but white was definitely better in the middle game. Okay, this is a French where white's not yet played d4, so the reason for that is white gets a couple more tempo to try to put some pressure on c6. It's nothing special just yet, but I do have the preference for the white pieces at this stage. Oh, that's just a cold blunder. Knight d4 is much better for black. Usually this is pinned, and I've just let that hang, so that's fairly poor. Yeah, I was saying I prefer the white pieces. I don't now. I did. I'm just losing material here. Yeah, my opponent's just gonna. I'm not gonna claim a victory. I'm gonna allow him to come back. So what I should have been playing is really capturing on c6 first before playing d4. This is just a slip. So yeah, I think when he left, he maybe had about 2 minutes 30. So I'll just bump up the clock again when he returns. Let's just add on some time. Oh, he's back now. Okay, so we can continue. Yeah, he's been so kind to think that the d4 was a mistake. He was going to allow me to take it back, but I've just said that's a clear mistake, and I'm going to play on. So I'm backing off to f3 just to prevent d4. So I'm now queen down, but I will be playing on this position. And I don't know if pawn at d6 was ideal. It blocks him in a little bit. If he plays d4 now, I have to hit the queen to try to get out of the pin. Against this, though, I do need to defend. So yeah, very sportsmanship-like of opperwezen to offer a take back there, which is just really from a bad move. Okay, knight at e3, got to cover off the mate. Now g2 is on as well. So can't allow knight g2. I've got to defend e2 as well. It's not so good. f3 is hanging now. So yeah, my position's crumbling pretty badly. Alright, I'll take this way. Okay, he's decided to cash in with rook at g1. Now, I've chosen to block with the queen there because if I just allow him to capture the knight, I'm just losing even more pieces. I figure this gives me the best chances to continue. Even something like queen takes e3 may be playable here. Yeah, I need to give some coverage to g2. But yeah, with good play, black should be able to do well here. The only trouble for black is he's not actually developing these pieces. So that's how black should actually progress here. Is black doesn't need to blow up white. Black can actually slowly get things out. So here it comes. Here comes the other pieces. The bishop a6 is a problem for me. I don't really have a blocker to get untangled. I'm actually going to stop bishop a6 by playing knight at b4. d4 is coming now, so yeah, everything's looking bad. Got to get out of the pin. This rook. So in all of this, yeah, in all honesty, white is lost. It's just how long I can hang in there for the sake of demonstrating some defense. Yeah, bishop at c4 is the correct move here. Yeah, maximizing his potential. Okay, knight at f4, and it's time to throw in the tower here. So queen at e2 and rook at e1. So yeah, just that one slip d4 was very costly. Okay, we're playing e4, e5 again. Should mix up the openings a little bit. Okay, an early d4. Now this is quite playable for both sides. It's an open game, so having some understanding of how to play these open positions is quite important because things can head south quite quickly. What I think is important is there's a lot to play for in the middle of the board. Bishop c4, pawn f7's coming. I'm going to defend it this way. Pawn e6 is still going to be a problem. Let's just see, should I capture this? Takes, bishop e6. think the capture seems right. So I'm having to give that piece back. So material's just balanced again. But importantly here, e5 and g5 are both adequately covered with defense. And now it's a bishop g4 or bishop d6, I think. Yeah, let's not be too passive. Good idea to drop this king back, because it could be some e5 d6 ideas later on. But also it's good just to back off to put a pawn here and really solidify the defense on this square. So yeah, knight f6 is natural. So white has a better position here. I mean, more space, better development. Black's king is a little bit awkward, but still playable. Black can play h6 here. Happy doing that. Now I am giving up some weaknesses on light squares by playing h6, because this g6 square becomes undefended. You could play pawn at h6 as well, but then I feel like I prefer to keep this pawn in hand in case he does back off. I'll have more options. So here there's no immediate threats on my king, so I've now got safety. Part of h6 as well is to prevent pawn at h6 later on. So I need to keep some balance of control around my king. Now it's actually just about tactics and trying to win material in the middle. So yeah, I'm going to hit his queen and the pawn. I'm aware that my pawn on e5 is under attack. And so this is a critical part of the middle game play that needs to be done well. So yeah, e4 is on. There's pawn at d4. Rather than let things open up just yet, I'm just going to pin the knight to the queen. And here I've just gradually made progress on my king side to push anything out of that area. You'll see there's lots of forks available with pawn at d4, pawn at f4, but all that does is make two pawns available for the piece for opperwezen. Yeah, though in this case there's some tactics here with pawn at f4 which might be quite useful for me. So he should take with a queen, or else knight at g2 would lose a bishop. And that's why I've gone down this path. And now I want to hit things here. So this is critical middle game play. This is where the games are won and lost. I've got a lot of potential attacks here. And so now I'm defending this knight that way. And then yeah, I've got to be careful of things like pawn at e6 though. In fact, yeah, we'll sack the queen here. And my idea is to grab this. I just need to make sure I'm safe enough at home. So I'm going to play pawn at e2 first. Now, yeah, that's not going to lead to anything. There's no tricks with queen at e8 or queen at c8 which are going to mate me. So I now have plenty of material to attack with. And there could be some kind of mate here. So if the king goes to b1, knight at c3 mates, he has to capture. Now, got plenty of checks. I want to finish quite accurately, but also shouldn't run out of time either. He ran out of time. Bishop at c2 and knight takes d5 was also very strong. After queen e7, knight takes e7, I think black's safe and white's in too much trouble. But yeah, that was a nice sharp open middle game where I actually decided to sacrifice a queen while I was still ahead. Made a difference. Okay, we're heading down a similar path. This French type position. So this time I'm going to capture c6 before playing d4. And d4 is a good move, particularly when there's a knight which could come off the board, because it prevents knight at d4, and it also prevents knight at f4. So d4 is a good move. Now with one attacker on f7, I'm going to try to get some balance in how I'm attacking. In fact, I'm tempted to sacrifice something here. Can afford to capture this one. And here I'd like to make a critical move of some form. Whether that's a queen sacrifice. Yeah, it's just an instinctive thing. The trouble for me is that after bishop e2, queen at d1 is a mate threat straight away. Yeah, let's go for it. So I'm looking for an attack on this light square here. And I think this looks very optimistic and ambitious. I don't know that this is going to be sound. Black may even have some counter-attacking options here. So something like even knight at d3 might be really accurate. Yeah, and he's played it, because knight at c2 is going to put my king in a position where I'm having to defend. And if knight d3, I lose all initiative, which is not good. No, it's not terrible. But cd, knight c2, king d2, knight takes a1, I have to cover. Yeah, not liking my options here. I think opperwezen's played this very accurately. The cover e2, but also hit the knight. Bishop at g4 is also a potential threat. But here it's mostly about survival for white. Black's doing quite well to ask the question if this queen takes h5 sack is really sound or not. Okay, so if I capture h5, I'm going to lose g2. Well, more importantly, if capture here, knight at f3 is going to be mating. I can't play that. I actually have to play bishop at d1. There's a nice trick. If I take the knight at f3, blocks the bishop from defending e2. Now I can take this. Now the e2 threat's gone, but there'll be new threats coming. And white still doesn't have play on black's king. So if he plays queen at h1, I think I'll actually capture it and then block. Yeah, here it comes. And the idea is that I might get some checks on the back, or queen at e5, queen at f8, if I can survive the barrage of checks that may come. Ooh, didn't expect that one. I'll play queen at e5 first. Not sure this helps me much. No, I'm pretty well busted now. I don't think queen at e5 was very helpful. I ran short on time, but even then, black was standing better. So yeah, maybe rush a blood to the head with queen takes h5 with no clear continuation. There's a lot of other options that white can choose from there. Okay, but I like the way opperwezen's playing. Well, there's not much to give away, and he's capitalising very quickly. I can't castle just yet because there's still a double attack on h6. So knight g4 secures the h6 pawn. And it's good to actually capture this at some stage, because that's the thorn in black's side. But I don't mind making him spend a move. Okay, now d4 is really something I want to hit. I just wish to open it up carefully in the right way so I don't get myself stung. e5 is also coming now, so I'm making use of this pin and attack on d4 at the same time. And it's just subtleties like that which make the difference there, where I've spent a move developing knight c6 before, allowed him to waste a tempo here, and then picked up the piece, which has meant there's another attacker on d4, which now allows for this attack potential. Okay, so he's chosen to ignore. I think that should just be captured, and d4 should be captured here. I'm going to capture with these two pieces because I want to leave this defending h6. That's critical. But he can't play something like rook h6 because I've got knight c2 check, which wins the queen. And now f3 crumbles, so I'd be happy to pick that up. Before he gets too comfortable and attacking on h6, I need to hit him where it hurts. So yeah, there's a few ways of playing this. I like pawn at e3. There's a little tactic here. If takes, then knight at g2 picks up the queen. And this also resolves my problems of pressure on h6. So, and it starts an attack. So he's resigned there. So I hope this gives the viewers some insights on some middle game play. And understanding, yeah, what makes the difference at the high levels. Okay, if I take, he kind of gets a nice development plan. I don't mind just giving this pawn back actually and trying to get in on e5. He's not allowing it. So I suppose the way I approach a position in the middle game is, you can't always blow up your opponent, which is what this game is known for. And sometimes you've got to pick what the critical points in the position are there, and usually it's something in your opponent's half or something in your half where you'll find the easiest place to make progress. So in this case, it's middle game, I can't block my opponent, but I'm looking for something here, d5, which is something I can attack. And my idea is to try to accumulate small advantages. So I want to pick up a pawn. I'm going to lose it back with queen a5. But I expect the trades will favour me. Bishop d2 to cover a1. He wasn't able to take d4 because of knight at c7. Yeah, so from here, like d7's a weakness. This could be something on the bishop. I'd like something critical and fast here. So the way my mind's thinking is that black would like to develop with e6 because that resolves a lot of weaknesses, and then that gets his bishop out. So it makes my mind think, how about pawn at e6, because that attacks weaknesses. He can't take it with the queen because of knight at c7. If he catches it with the pawn, then he's got a development problem here, which I can try to exploit later on. So yeah, thinking if I should capture that bishop. We'll capture it. I want to make something happen on f7. I'm spending a lot of time here. But if I don't act on these weaknesses quickly, I'm not going to have anything. So my idea is pawn at f7, take, and then pawn at f7 if king takes, knight at e5. And then there'll be a capture here, but his king may move across to the side. That's probably more accurate. He's played that. I'll still play knight at e5 to support this pawn and attack here. Another accurate move by him. Defending g6 and attacking g2. I've got to cover g2. And now he's going to try to push me back. So I need to get active very quickly here. I've sacrificed a little bit of material. Now, yeah, he's got to be careful of some tricks. Bishop a5 is a possibility at some stage. Let's come in at f4. Oh. So knight at g3 is something I need to be careful of now. Knight at f2 is a possibility. Getting mated. The point is, if I can take him and then potentially try to counter-attack. I'm dropping material left, right and center now. Got to cover g2, there's a mate threat. Queen trade would be good for me. If queen e2, I play knight at f4. Covers g2, hits here, also hits e6. And he has to be careful if he's getting mated as well. So very sharp in the dying stages here. Capture this guy. Okay. Whoops. Yeah, queen's come off now. That'll make the difference. Mad time scramble there. Even knight at d6 wasn't right. E takes d6 was a possibility. Sharp finish there. I thought he defended very well and he was actually making progress. And then I made things a little bit tricky by opening up the centre. Margins are fine in these games. The bishop at h5 there is a pin to make him consume. Well, I don't know if consume is the right word, but use up his bishop here, and then I've backed off because I'm not keen on actually making the trade happen. So, fairly balanced position. Material's just about balanced. So let's see how the middle game play goes. So with everything kind of blocked up here, we're really playing for every pawn. So there's a tendency for some players to not respect their material. I think that should be done at all times when possible. So here it's the game's all about trying to find a way to win some material. I'm going to play e5. See if I can break open somewhere on his side. I'm going to go for his dark squares. Try to open up some lines. And so if your opponent's invested some pieces on the other side of the board, sometimes it's good to go seeking opportunities on his half. A little bit of sacrifice of material can sometimes help out. Now I'd like to hit that knight, because I'm looking for things like knight at g3 at the moment, and I figure that I'm safe enough on the king's side to be able to take a bit of a hit. I'm looking at things like knight at e3. Yeah, so now if he captures the rook, knight at g3 is going to be very strong for black. Should just avoid that being captured. No need to go crazy. Okay, so decent position here. I'd love to have a rook in hand. So I've got to be careful if I allow a rook trade. Now if he takes queen at g1, we'll mate. So I've got enough coverage on the back. Knight at g6 isn't a problem because I've got coverage here. So now it's all on tactics on g1. Trying to look for a way in. Not seeing it just yet. The bishop at d4 is good to put more pressure here. But then I've left this bishop. I've sacrificed that bishop. So got myself into some trouble now. Problem is knight at g6 now is mating me. Oh, I don't think this leads to anything fruitful for me. I've just blown it. Now I've covered off the mate threats, but I've got very little time. Pawn at f4 is a mate in one, he's got to stop. Oh dear, knight at f7 is going to mate now. I ran short on time, but yeah, I missed something with my bishop takes g3 sack, that I wouldn't have a bishop remaining on d6 to execute a mate plan that I had. So that was quite poor. Up until then, though, I think I had a better position. And credit to opperwezen for hanging in there with that defense. That was well played. Okay, so this is an early pawn sack from black to get some activity. Queen a5 thing's gonna capture my knight. Yeah, I think dynamically it's playable. There's opportunities for black. So the idea is here, white needs to just try to prevent too much activity occurring for the black pieces, and then try to make use of this extra pawn to pick up some material. So pawn at g4 being played, I'm trying to prove that that's an overextension and capture here. And I've opted to sack a knight because this has been played, so I'll later have a pawn at g6 weakness to attack. I don't need to get too involved just yet. Queen g3 is sensible. Bishop h6 is still a threat. He's looking at getting me with knight at e2. I'll just play sensibly. And I'm building up a battery of pieces here, so when the time is right, I can open up the position with pawn at e6 or pawn at g6. Right now I'm just ensuring I'm not losing any critical material. You could potentially open up the attack earlier if you wanted. I'm playing quite a considered way, just taking little risk and opening up the position entirely on my terms. And so meanwhile, black's pieces have still been not too well developed. And I've got a lot on the bay, on the bench here. Okay, so pawn at h7 is coming, so I need to start attacking now. So I'm going to open with bishop at e6, which is logical. And in doing so, I pick up another bishop that's been traded here. If the rook goes back, bishop h6 becomes, yeah, big deal. Well, it's a big deal anyway, because pawn at f7 is now a threat which blocks off the defense of g7. So he's defended that, but yeah, it feels like there's already mate here. It's a matter of finding it. Yeah, so pawn at h7 is a way to start. I'm trying to encourage knight h7 because then he would be mated. And And even if he goes here, knight at f7 takes is winning. The critical move is king h8, and there's a nice queen sack. Now there's a smothered mate. With the pawn at h6 being played, pawn at h7 being played first, it puts a knight on h7 that covers off the king. So that's how that mate works. So sometimes you can still blow up your opponent, but yeah, you've got to pick your time, and it's also important to understand the tactics here. But it's a fine line sometimes for new players to accurately determine, when the flux of the game is changing. So, is it a tactical position? Is it a positional position? Is it actually a bit of both all at once? I think that's what makes the game interesting. Chess is no different, that there's times when there's tactical plays and positional, but I think it's a little more unclear in this game. So right here, part of my strategy is this bishop is often a problem for black, but I've made sure white has plenty of pawns in the way. And now here even I'm tempted to take e5 still. Yeah. I think the queen trade favours me. This is still blocking the bishop adequately. Importantly here, I've also got two knights defending some critical squares. Without these two knights being here, there would be queen at g8 and knight at f7 mate. But having a knight here means you can capture with g8 against a sack, and the rook still defends f7. Having the knight here means you could take with the rook and still have f7 covered. So before going to that queen sack, I've had a look at this. And what this knight then does is it opens up attacking opportunities on the king. There's no actual mate threat here just yet. It's close, but not quite. Knight at h3 takes, knight f3, king across, pawn at g2, king takes, knight h4 takes, pawn at f3, king takes f3, and white's safe. Only because this pawn on h3 would be covering queen at g4 mate. So there's no actual mate threat, and he's correctly identified that. But I'm going to play pawn at f3, and if this is now captured, then knight at h3 is actually a mate threat, because the pawn can't capture because of queen at g2. And if king h1, then there's a smothered mate with queen at g1, rook takes queen, and knight takes f2 mate. Taking this is not attractive because knight takes f3 will be mating now. With king h1, pawn at g2, king. Sorry, let me start that again. G takes, knight takes, king h1, pawn at g2, king here, knight at h4, takes, takes. Yeah, he's played into it, which is unusual. So we'll get to see the mate being played out. So yeah, if king h3, there was mates here. Take, take, king h3, queen at g4 was mating. But it was a tough position to defend there already. Okay, so he's going to play e4, e5. And you may notice, because this line has become more developed recently, some of the top players will avoid this, just so that they're not playing against theoretical traps, and it's just actually playing some crazy house. So I've avoided some main lines here myself. I played a different move order to allow c3, and it's nothing special, it's just a little bit different. This allows this knight to cover f3. I want to put my queen on b3 later. And there's some pressure here. But yeah, I mean that's nothing. I don't know why you would take that. That's definitely a mistake, bishop f3. It was fine just leaving it there. There was nothing on f7. It's just a slow gradual moves. So now knight at g6 has caught my eye. That's what I'd like to do. Just going to play very directly here. So this is an example of trying to blow up the opponent. Before anything happens on my king side, there's some pretty nasty threats here. Let's see if there's a tricky mate. I think I'm just short. Bishop g8's an idea. I need another piece to make the mate happen. Knight f8, capture the rook. Maybe just capturing the rook is most sensible. There's now a mate threat with knight f8 double check, and after king h8 there's either rook at h7 or rook at g8. I've not taken f2 here because rook at h1, king takes, knight takes f2 would give black some more checks. It may still be okay for white, but this really defends everything. It ends the checks. There's rook at h2 and rook at g1. That's it. And then now knight f8 is just too strong. So he's resigned there. Okay, I'll play e5 myself this time. So we've just had a game this series where he actually got a lot of pressure on f7. Seems like we're heading that way again. And I think white actually gets a better position out of this than black does. Yeah, I'll play it to the same line. Maybe knight h6 is playable. Pawn f7 takes the knight. Yeah, I'm preferring this. Just by allowing to give the piece back this way, at least there aren't a large number of white pieces on the light squares. Pardon me. Okay, so I'm going to back off king f8 because I'm going to get hit with pawn at f5 or pawn at d5 at some stage. And so here white's being sensible. Before committing any pawns, I mean, if I play knight f6 here, then things like knight at g5 and pawn at h6 become available. So he's taking his time with opening up the position. I'm going to play c6 just to counter knight d5 as an option. If pawn at d5, I would not want to capture it because that helps white to progress. Yeah, against this, should I capture? I will. I still need at least one bishop looking at e6 to avoid knight at e6 check. Oh, but this is going to make things very difficult for me. That's a nice move, knight at d4. I think black's in considerable trouble now. Key point being, you can't just defend the bishop to defend e6. Queen d7 is an option, and bishop e6 takes knight e6. Maybe we'll go to c8. Yeah, I really don't like my position now, so I don't think bishop f5's right. Sacking it on f5. I'm going to play king f7 to try to hold on to this pawn. Every bit of material counts. I need to alleviate this discovery threat. Oh yuck, now this is... Yeah, none of it's looking good here. Pawn at h6 is coming, bishop in this case. Yeah, it's all falling apart. Pawn at g7 is not great for black. I have to defend it by opening up this. And now I'm probably defending for the rest of the game, with not much time left. I may need to actually counter in some fashion. I'm running very low on time now as well, so I actually just need to move. I think Queen e7 is a clear win here. Well, so is this. Yep, time to throw in the towel. So an early opening mistake there. Bishop takes f5, fell into knight at d4. That was a nice find by opperwezen. And that's what I mean by needing to be very careful and accurate in these middle game positions where it's quite open. The tactics flow wild and free in Crazy House. Alright, I want to attack now. I sense something occurring on the dark squares, and I want to try to blow up my opponent. Not just because I can, but because I sense the opportunity with potential mate. King g6 probably should be played to avoid knight f6. Now black's mated. King g6, possibly knight f6 anyway, and black's still fighting for life. I don't think h6 was accurate there because it allowed that bishop takes h6 combination. I was going to capture it. Yeah, what's better, the knight or the pawn? I don't actually have the normal trick here with this pawn still being on f2, so he's identified that. So black does need to be cautious here. There are things like queen takes, rook takes, knight e5, knight e5. Yeah, it was probably okay for black. Alright. I'm looking at tactics with queen d2 and trying to pick off this one. So I don't mind this because I've got the back rank covered. I'm trying to pick off this pawn, and I mean in Crazy House, a minor piece is roughly equivalent to a rook, in my opinion. Yeah, capture this way. If he wants to capture that, that's fine. I think bishop at a5 is better for black. I've now got a tactic hitting these two. Some funny trick here with queen a5, knight takes, rook at d8. I have to be quite accurate and king here. So what I was thinking is pawn at e7, queen a5, knight takes, rook at d8 check. I'd be forced to block back with the queen, and then he'd capture it. After rook at d8, if I played king g7, he had bishop at f8 check. king here, bishop h6, which would be winning. By playing this, I avoid the rook at d8 trick. So he'd have to give up his queen. Otherwise the fork still stands. And now if he takes and I take and he takes the rook, then I can sack here and then take there. Okay, so rook at d8 is very interesting. Defends d2 importantly, but also threatens here, so I can't capture this knight. Can capture this one though, because I have knight e4, knight c5. Now, if he chooses to play king d1, I had bishop g4 check and take here. Lots of tactics flying around here. Now, in terms of king safety, I'm feeling fine, just capturing the queen. If bishop at f8, I can just back off. If knight e8, king g8 opens up the bishop to defend f6, so I'm not getting mated that way. Let's see if he can cook up something else. Now, king h6 looks quite dangerous, but it may be accurate because a bishop at f8, which actually blocks off the back. Other options, king g8, which might be simpler. I'll go with king g8. Now I'm short on time, so I've got a lot of pieces to attack with. I have to block with the knight here. I block with a rook or a queen. I get mated due to a sack and rook at e8 or queen at e8. Now he's threatened knight at e7, so he's found some nice tactics here. We're fighting with all the tactics. He's still threatening his knight at e7, which prevents me from taking. Oh, now he can take this one. That's quite annoying. He's found some nice ways to untangle himself and keep attacking. Meanwhile, I've got 10 seconds. Alright, just got to move here. Ooh. Oh, I've got mate. And I was too slow to place it. I should have just pre-moved rook at c1 actually. Because that was going to be mate either way. That's unfortunate. Really ran out of time just because I couldn't choose rook at c1 or rook at e1. But yeah, I like the way I finished that one. That was quite a sharp finish. Okay, he's hitting this. Just defending g2. I think bishop c5 is interesting here, because then if knight c6, bishop at f2, king cross, queen g2. Or I could be ambitious and allow that. Play king f1. Yeah, so yeah, it seems clear today opperwezen's not shy of playing the sharpest move possible. He's really looking for all the tactics. Getting some really good games for this recording. Alright, he has played it. I'm going to enter into the line. Now, bishop at f2, I'm just going to sidestep and claim that he doesn't have enough to mate me. and basically so the king holds on to the pawn on g2. And then my threat will be to play d4. That's not the continuation I expected. I think here the idea is if pawn g3, he's going to play bishop at f2. I should just sidestep. And so I've fought very hard to just win one pawn, and now I'm trying to justify that I can hold on to it. A knight at f2 would not be a good move for me. Let's just play knight a5. Okay, so from here I'd like to alleviate some pressure on my position. I'm going to try to fix up this f2 problem. Alright, is rook f3 any problem? It should be fine. You might be thinking of sacking this and playing rook at g1. I don't think it's enough. He's coming this way. No, I'll take this. So I do need to be careful on the back, but I have some checks. So yeah, maybe it's worthwhile just covering the back first. If pawn at f2, I can play knight at d3 or knight at f1. I'm going to choose d3. Nah, maybe f3. Just to cover both of these. The bishop on b7 is still hanging. He has to address that. Yeah, I think he's trying queen e2. I don't think that does enough. I'm just going to grab material. That one. Okay. That's a little bit different. E1 is a problem for me now. Remove this bishop. Can I make the capture? Rook at E1 takes. Yeah, I'm not seeing mate. Whoa, I have fallen into mate though. I'm not sure if I defended that accurately there. I was short on time. I like how he attacked me though. I missed queen takes f3. That was very strong. Yeah, just making sure I don't lose a pawn here at some stage. He's going to open up things. So with things opening up, I need to try to prove that I've got some tactics that will take advantage of some of the holes that he's got in his position. There's holes on c2 and d3 which I'm targeting. Okay, but nothing special yet. Now rather than playing knight at c4 check, I want to try to undermine what's on his side. So I've got a relatively safe king compared to him, but I am down a pawn on material. So I need to be very effective in how I remove his remaining pieces on the board. So in some cases when your opponent has many pieces on the sideline, it's all about how quickly and actively you can play while they still don't have their pieces on the board. So rook at c2 is what I'm looking at. King f1, knight d2 check wins a queen. If king e1, bishop at d2 allows me to get another attacker on f4. I've played king d1. Just trying to dry out my tricks. Yeah, let's just put another attacking piece on. Now he's still defending the f4 pawn. I think he should have defended with queen g3. I'm not concerned about knight at g6, not just yet. Now I'm a little more concerned about it. I should be able to live though. There's a few checks, but there's just enough resource around the black king to hold on. So knight takes, rook takes, something on g6, capture. Bishop at g8 would be covered by the rook that remains there. So it's looking difficult for white here because there's just mate in one threats everywhere. Knight at c2, knight at d3, knight at f3, knight at g2, queen at f1. I thought queen g3 instead of queen e4 was still interesting earlier. I might have had to play something like queen d5 and still try to attack another way. So if rook at h8, importantly I must capture with the rook, because if king takes h8 then knight takes g6 would be mating. Okay, c3 just to prevent knight b4. h3 preventing knight g4. You can also bring the knight out to h3. That's quite playable. Yeah, I'll castle here. We'll block up the position. I'll accept. Okay, so we've got a closed one here. Might just cover up d5. Knight takes d5 is a reasonable play for white. For black, sorry. And then now, with development nearly completed, I'm going to try to attack. So he's trying to win a piece here. Looking at knight f7 or knight h7 as options. Knight f7 takes. Yeah, he might grab my queen, but I'll get the first check on him. Now queen at e8 is really dangerous. Threatens take and rook at g8. As material goes, I'm a piece down for a pawn, but it's not an easy one to cover at the back. He would like to have a knight to put on f6 to cover the g8 square, but here I think he's going to be forced to take the queen. Not going that path. I don't see what this achieves. I'm going to pawn at g3 if he plays bishop at f4. And even the capture here is not good because of bishop at f8 and knight f7. I think after... oh, that's what it achieves. It hits f7. That actually does make a difference. Still very tough for black. I actually think after pawn at f7, I think rook takes f7 was a better choice. He might send the black king open, but it would still be able to find. Alright, we're going to have to stop there. Opperwezen's called the end of the series. So I hope that was both entertaining and informative for the audience. I'm going to close off the recording here. But yeah, I'm still going to keep playing while I'm on holidays. The connection doesn't seem too bad from Indonesia after all. So yeah, I'll see you again soon. I'm going to be catching up on things like Game of the Week, Cancer Donations tin. Yeah, there's a few other ideas to catch up on as well. So while I'm on holidays, I'm going to try to put some effort into the channel. So I'll see you again soon. Thanks, guys.